at the CMA portion of the presentation, like I started even bringing up market stats as well too in the presentation. So I started sprinkling it on. So like I'll give you an example. I had a listing appointment last week and it was an expired. They were listed at 535. I'm like, what price do you guys want to relist? They're like, yeah, we want to relist it at 535 because this is what we need. So I basically did the one thing where I was telling you where I selected like four comps. I started off from highest to lowest. The first two comps supported their price. And what I showed them on the first two comps, I'm like, the only thing I want you to pay attention to is the date that it sold and when it was listed for sale. So it was listed in February and it sold in April. Notice how both of these sold in April. Now, take a look at the two more recent comps. The two more recent comps sold in June, but take a look at the prices that they sold. And obviously those prices were lower. And then I was like, well, look, it's probably confusing to you. You're just like, okay, well, why did two properties that sold in April sold at a much higher price? But then we look at the properties that are more recent. Why did those sell at a much lower price? I'm like, look, do you mind if I share you some market statistics as to what's happening with the marketplace as a whole in order to be able to help you make a better decision as to how to price your property better this time or how to price your property right this time? And they're like, sure. I'm like, and then I pulled out this, bro, and I'll kind of share it with you. Um, and even yesterday, I pulled it out when somebody was like, hey, look, like we want to counter, but we want to counter at this redonkulous. Oh man, I can't share my screen. Okay, regardless, if there's anybody that allows me to share my screen, that'd be dope. But I basically showed them like some market statistics, and I think Showing Time has market statistics that you can share with people. But I basically go through the market statistics. I'm like, well, look, here's what I want you to pay attention to. Let's go back a year from today for the city of Santa Paula. I'm like, how many homes do you believe were listed in the city of Santa Paula last year? They're like, I have no idea. I'm like, well, 30. I'm like, how many homes do you think are listed today? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, 54. So last year it was 30. Today is 54. Now, that wouldn't be a problem, Aaron, if demand increased by the same amount. So meaning like if inventory goes up almost by double in 1 year, but demand goes up by double, it's virtually a wash. Here's what's happened to demand. So I'm like, look, last year around this time, there was 14 homes that went into escrow in that marketplace. Guess how many homes went into escrow this month? Like, I don't know, like 15. So here's what's happening. Supply has almost doubled, yet demand has stayed flat or stagnant. Now, let me ask you a question. In an environment where inventory almost doubles, but demand doesn't change at all, what typically happens to prices in those environments? Like, well, it goes down.
Down.
I'm like, as you can see, that actually explains what's happening in the marketplace right now.
Yeah, so just by you saying that demonstrates that you're beginning to realize what's happening in the marketplace right now. So all of that, guys, which is masterfully done, all of that is to set the frame. Do you see? But if you guys don't know these stats and you're just like, whoa, like you're going to fight with you.
Well, even with like some guy was like, hey, look, I want to counter back at full price, or I don't want to counter at all because, and his logic was like, well, I think interest rates are going to come down and they're talking about rates come down. I basically just sent them a video. I'm like, look, interest rates could or couldn't go down. That's a possibility. Here's what's happening in the marketplace year over year. I'm like, inventory has doubled. Basically, demand has remained flat or not changed. What do you think that usually means for real estate prices? And like, yeah, let's counter. After I shared that with them, they were like, yeah, let's counter.
But do you notice like Jose stayed calm He didn't argue with him, and he hit him with data, information. Because opinions, bro, like everybody will argue with their opinion, but they won't argue with the data. So there were multiple different ways he could go. He could go, yeah, based on he like what as you were saying that, Jose, what's popping up for me is like, yeah, dude, trust me, I go to bed every night hoping and wishing and praying that rates go down
Yeah.
because it makes my job a lot easier and these conversations a lot more exciting. At the same time, I'm all for being optimistic, but we can never lose track of the hard facts of a situation. And I know that like opinions are, like commodities, everybody has one sort of thing. At the same time, the facts don't lie. So what I'd like to do is to go over with you some of the data that we're seeing happening in the marketplace in terms of supply and demand. Would that be okay? Boom. I set the frame. Now we go over the stats or whatever. And then I might throw in like this, like, yeah. And what's interesting is they've been talking about rates going down for 3 years. And at the same time, like they actually haven't. They've gone the opposite direction. They've gone up. And at the same, and what I'm also, and I might throw in the the United States credit rating going down for the first time in 100 years, like that whole thing. But there's multiple different ways that you can go.
But
And then go the route of like
kept it very simple.
Yeah.
Even if you just kept it very simple and just people are not dumb. If you show them that inventory has almost doubled, yet demand has stayed the same, it's so powerful because it's like, dude, it doesn't matter what happens.
Anybody else is saying. This is what's
nothing else matters if inventory almost doubles, guys, and demand stays flat, or in some cases goes down. The marketplace is supply and demand. That's all it is.
That's all it is. Now, and I want everybody on this call, because as agents, we need to be able to decipher. So, like, if you don't understand supply and demand, if you don't understand the economic machine and how it works, you can't really serve people because they're trying to figure out what's what themselves. You know what I mean? So the value that we bring is to help them to see what's really going on, not what, political parties are saying, not what like the political theater is saying, not like what, your grandpa who's like, or your uncle who lives down the street from you is saying, but like what's actually true. Right. And those kind of stats like, hey, what's happening with, like, I don't know about you guys, bro. That's Jose's telling you that it's doubled. Think about that. Bro,
in some
almost doubled inventory.
In some areas. In some cities, it's like 33%.
It's not like everywhere, but like, you know what I mean? But in other areas, it's how much? 33%?
33%, yeah.
Bro, think about that. Inventory's climbing. So like you might hear something on TV like, oh yeah, like, there's not enough homes for sale. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, inventory's climbing.
Jose,
and in some areas, demand has pulled back too. So there's other cities where I go and I'm just like, look, demand has gone from 57 to 37.
So you really have to like be monitoring like what's happening, because when Jose goes on that appointment where demand has pulled back, he needs to be more aggressive. He needs to help. He needs to really help them.
I think what it also did, Aaron, is it helped me see what would like. Okay, so whenever I shared with you the market stats, I looked at just one statistic there, and it was like a report that my virtual assistant sends out to all of our clients. But when I actually started digging into the numbers and I started comparing it, I'm like, it like helped me like right. Okay, like it helped me get sold. Yes. On why we need to be better at pricing.
Yeah, and if you're
why we need to adjust.
Yeah, and that's my point. So like business is just strategy and people. So strategically, like, okay, 2021, 2022, you guys could not have any conversation about price and everything would sell. It didn't matter. And that was the strategy. Just get out there and get a listing agreement signed. And it was like money in the bank. Show me what you think. Well, you can't do that strategy anymore. It doesn't work because the environment's changed. So leaders don't panic, they pivot. Ooh. So by him understanding, studying market, hey, my approach to pricing the strategy needs to change. I need to get much better at setting frames. I need to get much better at understanding market stats. But he needs to be internally clear in order to lead others. Does that make sense?
And even then, like I was on a presentation, and a lot of the properties that I was showing them were selling below the asking price. and having to reduce their price. I'm like, it's probably really confusing, right? Like, look, they list at 850, then they reduce it to 800, and then they end up selling it for 750. You're probably like thinking like, oh, like like they had some pressing reason why they needed to sell, or they undersold their property is probably what you're thinking, right? I was like, can I share with you why you're seeing a pattern that this is more commonly happening in the marketplace? Like, sure. And then I break out with a couple of these stats, and now it's like, oh, now it like puts the nail on the coffin, like, oh, that's why these properties are selling at those prices, you know?
Yeah,
Jose,
it's
where do
good.
we find that?
Showing Time has it, dude. So I have it like I pull them for my market, but Showing Time actually has it, and I think they have it nationwide. So Showing Time actually and I think Showing Time is actually free for a decent amount of MLSs, where they have like statistics, or I think I pay $12.99 per agent on my team for Showing Time, which is like really inexpensive, but they have the market stats for you.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Which
I have that
basically,
then.
yeah, and it has it historically too. So I think it pulls it back to like the 1990s, bro. So which is really helpful to be able to see. I think you could see it on Redfin as well too. I think Redfin has. I've watched videos on YouTube where different realtors or different influencers will pull out market stats, and they pull them from Redfin, I believe. I think they have a platform where you can, or a link on their website where you can play with the data, basically.
Love it. Hey, team, I got to bounce. Go be great. Talk to you soon.
Later, everybody.